Well, right now we're in the peak season for severe weather in the U.S. Most of the costliest storms in the last 50 years happened between April and September. And this morning, experts warn that recent cuts to the National Weather Service could threaten lives across the country. For instance, let's look at this storm from Nebraska last month. Our NBC affiliate in Omaha reported serious damage to homes and cars, with windows and even entire roofs destroyed. The local NWS office says it didn't have enough staff to launch more weather balloons, meaning alerts could have gone out sooner, and that timing would have made a difference for one family who was caught off guard. It made it to safety, luckily, with just seconds to spare.
We didn't think anything of it, and then my wife started screaming at me, so we hightailed it to the basement, and it was about 20 seconds after he got down there that it ripped through.
That's impossible to forecast when and where. Not having that data could have saved a life or created a warning that had greater lead time. But if you do it over and over and over again, I can promise you that not having that data is going to be a problem when it comes to forecasting.
Now, why is this so important? Why are we telling you this morning? The Trump administration proposes to cut funding for NOAA by nearly 30%. But now every former director of the National Weather Service, dating back to President Reagan, is speaking up about it, saying the move will lead to a, quote, needless loss of life.
It's like having incoming missiles and not being able to tell anyone when they're coming or where they're coming.
We are generating kind of a Swiss cheese weather service. We have holes throughout the weather service now that are not well thought out. But you don't do that improvement with a hatchet and just randomly cut large chunks. Weather in this nation should not be a political issue.
So we're joined now by weather impact meteorologist Gary Frank. So Gary, tell us, how exactly do you and the Weather Service work together to make sure that people are informed in that area?
I think most of the time you really see it in those times where, we have the severe weather. Obviously, we have tornado warnings, severe thunderstorm warnings. They'll talk about patterns that they perhaps recognize, or they're looking or communicating with the Storm Prediction Center. So they'll get all that, and they'll provide us information in real time. We're thinking about issuing a tornado warning or a tornado watch at this point, right? So they'll go over these things in kind of a back channel thing that we sometimes refer to on the air. They'll let us know what they're thinking. Okay, well, the severe weather threat has wound down. Great. Well, we can kind of give that an idea as well, or maybe bounce some ideas from us looking at the radar or something like that, what's going on in real time. That's one way that locally they communicate with us as opposed to the outreach and stuff that they go along with. But there's a lot of things, especially you see them in severe weather, but the all things kind of happen, other times of the day, like even like a day like today, so.
So as Travis mentioned, it only took one missing weather balloon for this storm in Nebraska to take a lot of folks by surprise. Have you ever dealt with similar blind spots here in St. Louis? Is that common?
It's not necessarily common or uncommon. I think we're kind of fortunate in St. Louis where we have some of the university funding, which maybe not tied into that right now, where they'll launch a weather balloon at Mizzou. But regionally, if you don't have enough staff members at the National Weather Service offices, perhaps one or two of those guys and gals had to go launch those weather balloons. They get that data, they feed into, let's talk about like a day that we know that we use 314 days as an example. It's in the afternoon. We know when we wake up, how often do we talk about it? Is it going to be cloudy or sunny? Maybe that's when they launch those weather balloons downstream and then upstream, and so we get a better idea, feeds the data into the localized computer models, and then we can kind of see what we expect for that day, and that may give us a better or lesser idea of what's going on. Sometimes there's a big wall of warm air above the surface that kind of holds some of these storms in play, and we don't see that until we launch those weather balloons. So, or it's the opposite, and then you can really get the messaging out, like they say. And also, looking at some of these other cuts, some places like Dodge City, Kansas, where they're going to quit doing the forecast overnight because all these National Weather Service offices, you think we got some weird hours. They're there all night. It doesn't matter if it's 70 degrees in the afternoon because they've got to have somebody shift. So those are the things that are all changing behind the scenes, and they lead to cuts in other spots in the jobs. So,
well, St. Louis is obviously a unique area to forecast in, and we see it every week. Like, it's ever changing, right? Like, we had 80s one day last week, and then we were back, into the 40s, I believe. And so why is it so important to have timely weather alerts, especially here in the Midwest?
Well, because it changes so quickly, and some of the storms that may look like, okay, well, we can go outside and look at this one, it may become a little bit more serious, and we can kind of give those ideas and give enough of a warning, because we have a plan in place, because it is the bi-state region. We have all this weird weather. Everybody kind of understands what they need to do in certain situations, and they've been through enough of them that if we get those higher end ones, people take it a little bit more seriously, go in their basement, as opposed to just ignore. Not necessarily ignoring a siren, but the tornado sirens go off county-wide. You may not think about it as much.
A lot goes into it. Thanks so much, Gary.
Yeah.